thing. The truth is, if we can't focus on applied math and why math is useful, it's not any good.
I like the regalia in the
Oh, thank
background.
you.
Yeah, it's very illustrious.
Well, thank you.
So my mother was born in Iran, and
Huh?
she actually left the country right before the Islamic Revolution in the late 70s and was able to get her degree in engineering. She encouraged me to go into engineering, but even if she hadn't, I also had a physics teacher in high school who told me, Ruha, you might do well in engineering. So if it hadn't been for people who like tell you you can do this and you should do this.
make Makes such a difference. I've got a couple students in my calculus class right now that are just taking it because it was the next class and they've always been good at math. And I've been able to really lean into them and be like, you could do this as a career, whether that's going into math education or engineering. And they've
Yeah.
both of them women in STEM, both of them changing their direction and trajectory, deciding, hey, maybe I could do this engineering thing. Maybe I am capable of more. And just to encourage them to go those directions, it's just fun. That's one of my favorite parts about teaching is I get to be part of the inspiration story. And
I feel like these days we're so lucky to have Khan Academy and Wolfram Alpha that help kids learn at their own pace and practice. Doing the problems is how you learn, right?
whoever does the most work in the classroom will do the most learning.
And speaking of doing math, so I personally, the most math I ever really did, just pen and paper math, was algebra in at work.
Mhm.
Like me personally, algebra was very applicable at all times. But if it came to something more than that, I would model it either in Excel or some more advanced computer model. But I did know a friend just floored me with this idea he had so we were co-ops together at a carpet manufacturing plant. And there was this point where a carpet goes under a roller, and the roller is pushing up this layer of foam to coat the carpet. The roller is going, and the foam had this certain shape, and it was having an issue of overflowing. What my friend did, we were both just co-ops. He took a piece of paper and he stuck it, along the cross section of the foam so that
Okay.
he could calculate the area of it using calculus. And it was so smart. I was like, oh, I never would have thought to do that. Still wouldn't know how to do that.
And well, that's the great thing about the engineering community. I don't know if it's the same for all engineering groups, but the groups that I've had the privilege of interacting with is they are such a collaborative community of ideas where they're just throwing ideas around and I'm stuck on this. This isn't working. What should I do? Have you tried this? And I really love that collaborative learning environment that I seems to be natural in engineering offices. I don't know if that's true across the board, but the ones I've been in,
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
really
definitely.
liked seeing that. And that's how we really learn as a society and advance as a society. Is you don't need just one smart person. You need a lot of different perspectives, and somebody's going to see it from a different angle than somebody else did, and you find a new solution that hadn't been thought of before. Thanks. The truth is, if we can't focus on applied math and why math is useful, it's not any good.
Something I like to say is that when you like something you're good at, that makes sense. But when you like something that's difficult, that's when your real character is showing. I was thinking, oh, that sounds like maybe it could be nanotechnology. And then the
Ah,
professor said, and they think it could be nanotechnology. I was like, oh my gosh, I have
got it.
arrived. And
But
that was history. History had more to do with my engineering class than my Calc 3 class that I went to later that day. That I could pay.
oh
I've
no,
got students who are 23 asking if I go to college now, I'll be 27 when I graduate. Will that
right.
be too old? And not at all. Not
Not
at
at all.
all.
Not a race to the finish line. It's about getting to the finish line. And we're getting there together, the community of helping each other get to that finish line. People always assume because I teach math, I'm brilliant and I had no problem with school and I probably graduated early. And then I always surprise them when I tell them between my first college class and my graduation day with my bachelor's was 8 years. 8 years to my bachelor's degree. And that's okay because I had the same opportunities and I'm still doing just fine professionally. And it's not a race. It's about moving forward. As long as you're moving forward and making progress and you never give up, sometimes you take a step back. I had to withdraw from this class or it didn't go as well as I expected, so I had to retake that class. That's okay as long as we are moving forward and we never give up. The way
Never give
that
up.
math can be, but also it's something you can do. And if you make a mistake, that's okay. We're going to laugh at it and keep going forward.
Nothing makes me happier than connecting with like individuals here. Like it's nice that I had a video finally go above 40,000 views, but the people that I'm here for are the ones who stick around and come to my lives, Brandon.
Nice. The blind math teacher left, but because there's so many amazing things you can do if you've got a basic understanding of algebra and
I was
calculus.
focusing in on chemical engineering at first, but then I got a lot of comments that were like, "Hey, can you do this but for this other engineering?" And at first I felt like, no, I am not like the authority on that. I wouldn't know where to begin. And then I decided to begin. So I start my husband, I'm a chemical engineer. My husband's actually an electrical engineer. So
Oh,
I started with that. I was like, "Tell me these things." And he told me and I was like, "Okay, I think I can put this together." And I did, and it got a really good reception. So I was like, I'm just drawing on the people in my life because I went to a math and science high school. So I have a lot of friends who went into these different fields. Not only am I using them, I'm using Reddit to I really like scroll through those subreddits and I try to read as much as I can. I'm learning so much. I know
yeah.
so much more now about all the engineering disciplines than I did September of 2022. I try to entertain and I try to, what I really try to communicate is that engineering, you don't have to be super smart. You just have to be ready to work hard because it is hard work, but that most people have the ability to do it, and I also think it's very, very worthwhile. And I think that it's not just about the money, even though that is like a really great reason to do it.
It is
It's
nice.
also about the ability to make a difference and really leave a legacy and yeah, address the world's big major problems. I feel like sometimes people just need someone to also believe in them and tell them that they can do it. I have offered my services locally to high schools just here locally. I said, "Hey, I for free, I will come to your high school and just talk to students and answer any questions they have about engineering." So, I'm trying to get established in my local community. And then eventually I would love to reach out further. I'm in the Bay Area, so, there's a lot of interest in engineering in this area. And I would love to get paid to speak. I really wanted to just speak. I was like, I will speak for free. I started with that. But eventually, I would love to partner with the student engineering organizations at colleges, and I would love to motivationally speak to colleges and conferences, and like that's my big major goal. But for now, I'm kind of in the research and stay at home phase because I've got I've got these little responsibilities that I can't just abandon at any moment, relating to and speaking to high schoolers who need to know that they can do this, because I was a high schooler who, despite my straight A's and despite everything I had accomplished all throughout high school, engineering and physics and the highest levels of math were for the smart kids.
Uh,
And in my mind, the smart kids were the really, really nerdy boys who all hung out together and played Dungeons and Dragons and math
right.
club, and they were in the robotics team, and I figured robotics is too hard for me. I I passed up so many opportunities that I should not have passed up, and I'm mad at myself now for not knowing that I could have done it.
Yep. And I think
I'm
what
getting a lot of hearts right now. Whoever's doing that, I appreciate you too.
good, good. What the terrible thing about being in education is we plant a lot of seeds and we water a lot of seeds, but we never get to see the seeds grow. On a very rare occasion, we see one of our blooming,
Yeah.
but most of the time we're just planting and watering and just planting and watering, and the next crop comes in and we plant and water and throw some fertilizer of encouragement on it. but don't get to see that fruit at the end. And so we just have to believe, which is tough sometimes. We just have to believe that we are making a bigger difference. And a lot of the times it's a difference that's bigger than we even know. I think back on teachers that inspired me in mathematics. I'm sure they have no idea that they inspired me in mathematics.
Oh,
We would
why haven't you ever reached out to them?
it's just never crossed my mind. Or it's just, oh, that's not something I need to do now. I can do it later or whatever. But doing a lot of watering. Want to see these plants grow.
Yeah, I love that metaphor because that paints us as people who just enjoy gardening for the sake of it. Like
Right.
just enjoy the promise of these little seeds. You could be a big tree one day. Let's just pour some water on you. I took differential equations and linear algebra while I was still in high school. And I can tell you that I feel like that was definitely what set me up for success in chemical engineering at that big 4-year college.
Because if you 4-year university, especially a state school, and you take Calc 1, 2, 3 differential equations, those classes are going to have 150, 250 people in them. And you're going to probably be taught by a graduate assistant who is working on their master's degree, might not even have their master's yet. Versus
Right. Probably 23 years old and
my calculus class, I have 22 students in my calculus class. And right before the final, we have an end of the quarter celebration at my house where I cook them all dinner and we do a study session for the final.
love that. I love that.
At university, it prepared me better for a math degree than I would have gotten at the college going to it for all 4 years. Small
Can't
class.
say enough good stuff about it, but it still has that stigma, you know? And, oh, you went to community college.
Yeah.
You saved money and went to this place I've never heard of, right? Like,
Maybe you're upset because they have $20,000 in college debt and the other student doesn't.
yeah, exactly. And I wish more people talked about how fantastic community colleges are on all levels, every single level. What you told me, oh my gosh, what you told me about it being one building for the engineering courses and the chemistry or whatever, and math courses, like,
in one building.
yeah, that's a game changer in my book. That you guys, the professors, actually talk to each other and the names of your students. That's like, oh, you have this student and I have this student and here's where she's struggling. I mean, I would pay 10 times the money for that experience.
Yep. And yeah, knowing the students and the little community that we have here is what really makes it a magical place. And everybody is here to teach. And we're passionate about students and students being successful. Can they teach these 100, 200 level classes in a way that's going to help students be successful, or they view it as a gatekeeping course? And my job is to keep people who are not worthy from getting through. Well, that's not what STEM should be about. We should be about open opportunities, encouraging people to do more than they thought was possible, and showing they are capable of more than they think they can do.
Right.
That's what STEM ed should be about.
Yeah. Mic drop. That's it. We're done. So long.
There you go.
No, seriously though, it's been about an hour and oh my gosh, I feel like this was such a great conversation. Thank you.
Well, thank you for reaching out to set this up. I was so excited you're doing lives now and we could put this together.
Yeah, I know. Oh I only had like 200 followers when you first put out the call that was like, hey, if you follow me and you want to have, a collaboration, let me know. And I was like, I would love to, but I can't.
Yeah, TikTok rule, you have to have 1,000 followers. I've got a couple people that were like, I wish I could. Well, keep putting good content out there because
yeah, you said that. That's exactly what you said. You said keep putting out good content and you'll be there in no time, and that was a big help for me.
Good.
Felt good to have some belief there. So yeah,
college textbooks are expensive, college programs are expensive, and we should reduce that expense to students to open up more opportunities for students to gain an education. Finance should not be the reason anyone drops out of college, but it is.
I grew up in this idea that you go to school, you go to college, you go to work, right? But when I made this alternative decision, I started listening to podcasts. I started learning about different ways that people make money. I learned that it's actually not that complicated to have your own business. By the way, when I went to speak on that panel at my high school, I got paid. The lady, and I didn't know this was going to happen, but the principal at the time, handed me this envelope and it had $300 in it. And she was like, "Yeah, this is for, transportation and hotel and everything." And I was like, "I'm staying with my in-laws. This is for me."
Exactly what it is.
So
Nice.
yeah, so that was at the time we were all joking like, "Oh, Ruth has a paid speaker," and it was a joke that we kept throwing around. I kept telling people, all tongue in cheek, like, "Oh, I'm a paid speaker." But the truth is, like, as I, thought about it more and more over time, I was like, "Well, wait a second. Like, I love to talk, and I do have, lots of thoughts and ideas that I think are important and that other people have agreed and." Who knows? Maybe one day, I'll get paid again. Brandon and Plastic Bottle, all you guys, thank you for tuning in. It was great chatting. All right,
Thank you very
signing
much.
off. Hmm?
Have a good one. Thank
Have a
you.
good one. Bye.